Hello, welcome to Blood Moon Oracle. It's gonna be a hot one. I can already feel it. Let's take a look. I'm gonna pull out my Infinite Wisdom of Chakras deck, and this is my oracle for the day. Let's see, Spirit, give us some encouragement today. We're asking that you give us encouragement today, even as we walk through our days. We're open to synchronicities, signs, and the beauty of just being alive right now. Um, and no matter what may not be going right, we have the ability to dictate what we want to experience, right? And so we're going to invite joy into our situation today. Let's see what the encouragement is. Welcome to Blood Moon Oracle. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you feel led. Let's take a look and see what Spirit wants to encourage us with today. Oh, happy Juneteenth. If you are out and about, connecting with community, 10:10 on the clock, this is a perfect time to do that. I'm sure there's some major functions that support today, this legal holiday. Let's see what comes out today. Very fiery energy today. The dawn is talking about sexuality. The masculine and feminine within are receiving healing right now. And so there's healing coming in. Around our sexuality. It could be how we're perceiving ourselves and our masculine and feminine aspects. It could be healing coming in just from different experiences that we've had in the past in our lifetime, right? There could be healing that's happening around that, around how we are experiencing life or how we have experienced life and how we're seeing ourselves. There's some healing coming in that we're receiving right now today. Reflection is coming in as well. Again, how we're seeing ourselves, what we're seeing, like when we look at ourselves in the mirror, what's reflected back at us. This could be something that we embark upon with our journey, where we are having this experience where the healing is speeding up, or we're inviting a speeding up of time on our soul's journey, the path that we're on here on earth. There's something about the time speeding up or accelerating in some type of way. And this could be done by engaging with that healing, by openly engaging with that healing. There is something that's being reflected in this picture. It's called the hero's pose. And it's kind of like sitting on your legs with your feet under. I think it's called the hero's pose, where you sit not Indian style, but with your heels directly underneath your tailbone. And you just kind of sit with your arms laying flat on your legs and your hands on your knees. There's something about that pose that may invite healing, right? There may be something about that pose that may be healing to the body. I know all of the yoga poses actually stimulate, and it puts pressure on certain parts of the body that then trigger something else within the body, and may trigger healing in that way. And so there may be something about this pose that may be significant today, that may be helpful as we delve into energies of meditation, or maybe get out in nature and connect to nature, connect to our environment, connect with the sun. There's lots of sun coming through with both of these cards here. And so there may be something very healing waiting for us to connect with out in nature. I'm going to go ahead and pull some tarot. And I've been guided to use my music tarot deck tonight, or not tonight, today. And this tarot deck has a lot of like entertainers. It's pretty interesting. But let's see what comes out. A lot of them I never heard of. It's pretty interesting as I'm learning about all of these different musicians and entertainers that make music. They do have, a lot of people that I do know, like Prince. They have Queen Latifah. Tupac is in the deck. Let's see, Miley Cyrus is in it, like some very well-known people, but then there's also some people that I don't know. And so it's been very interesting using this deck. So let's take a look and see what encouragement spirit is bringing out for us today. I hope you guys are well. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you feel led to do so. Okay. So what's the energy coming out today? What's the current situation? I know from the Oracle, we're talking about healing, how we're perceiving ourselves. And I find sexuality is that's a subject that can be a little bit tricky because depending on what environment we grew up in, sometimes we can be taught that this is something that we need to avoid. It's something that's taboo. It's something that, we need to feel ashamed of, but actually it's the very opposite. It's something very natural. High Priestess. It's something very natural. And it actually is a part of us. And so I think it really does a disservice when we fail to address certain issues with our children or just in general. We want to avoid them and sweep them under the rug, but it does not cause that situation or that subject to cease to exist. It is very much a part of us, and avoiding it doesn't help to resolve issues that maybe people are going through. Sometimes it does need to be sat out on a porch and gave a beer, right? So that it could just get out and be aired and be exposed. So, the healing can be done. There's something about how we're perceiving ourselves, and it could have something to do with healing our views of our own sexuality, our masculine and our feminine, and accepting that, And so the High Priestess comes out. And the High Priestess is an energy of being aware of self, trusting self, being tapped in and seeing the divinity that lies within, almost like not shying away from any part of ourselves, but being trustful and understanding that we can trust ourselves, right? The High Priestess brings that energy of assurance of self. And that assurance comes from the fact of knowing that you are connected to the divine, right? It's understanding that you are divine. You are the creation, in essence, part of the creator. You are divine, right? I feel like this is coming through right now as the energy. And there's something that's very much known. You don't have to get any type of approval around it. There's just a knowing of it. And can't nobody tell you nothing. Okay. And so let's see. Let's keep going. I'm going to go ahead and lay out my whole spread just to get the overall energy. Okay. So give me 1 second. Thank you. Woo. Okay, I guess I'll take that. All right. Let's see what we don't see on the bottom. We have Justice coming in with Bruce Springsteen. So you could be someone who has been, a part of this patriotic type of system. That in itself can be, can present some, we talk about justice, that sometimes can present some dissonance, and so it's more than what meets the eye, I feel like with justice, and there may be some things to balance out, some things to dig up and really take a look at so it can be balanced. We have the Four of Coins, the Ace of Coins, the Emperor with Prince, and the Hermit, and so and then the King of Coins with Biggie. I do feel like the Hierophant. So there's something about value systems, but having that sense of self as well, and knowing when to buck, when to fight back or when to stand your ground. There's something here about um, really taking a sense of responsibility over your experience, right? Apart from, I feel like, what is expected of society. This healing feels like something that may need to be something that's taken. You need to take it back, right? If it was something that was stolen from you, this is a time to understand that you can take it back, right? Take it back by force. Um, that's the energy I'm getting that's coming up that we may not see, right? It's underlying what's coming out here, but we have the high priestess coming out here. And then we also have the Queen of Swords supporting the high priestess, which is like this take it by force type of energy, right? What we gonna stand on that, right? It's not even open for discussion, right? Um, because when we talk about this very feminine energy coming through with the Queen of Swords, this could be someone who is a bit mature, a bit aged. It feels like a little bit of a wise feminine energy. It could be matriarchal as well, nurturing, devoted to what it is that you see and what you believe, what you stand for. With the Queen of Swords is very truthful, very reflective and active. Is very much concerned with things like foundation and security and even independence versus dependency, right? And so there's some energy coming out here today to kind of take what it is that you need. And we're talking about healing, right? In some circumstances, I'm hearing you have to take your healing because ain't nobody going to offer it to you. Matter of fact, the system that we live in is very much dependent upon us needing to be dependent upon it, right? The system does not benefit from those that stand up in their own idea of what their truth is. The system is actually, it relies on this sheep-like mentality, going with the flow, just going with the crowd and depending upon it to work out anything that's needed. But this is the very opposite of that. This says that, I would be willing to stand out when it comes to what it is that I feel like, that I know, that I understand, that I deserve, that should in fact be mine. We're talking about the healing and the ability to stand up and say what's true for you with this Queen of Swords. That's supporting this high priestess energy of being able to stand in your truth, in the truth of who you are, who you know you are, and what you know to be true, and trust what you know and work that thing out. Okay. It goes deeper than just the skin. Okay. We're talking about deep healing that comes from the deepest parts of our being. You just know that this ain't it. There got to be more, and I'm going to go get it. Right. It's that kind of energy. And so the Two of Coins comes out here that shows up as the current mental processes that's happening right now. And this could talk about currently juggling two things. This is all about balance, right? It's all about trying to work things out until what it is that you need comes through. It could deal with money. I don't think we're dealing with money, but I think we're dealing more along the lines of healing, practical experiences, being able to exist in a place of balance for ourselves, in a place that provides happiness, if that's what we want, and there's this sense of balance here. What we put in, we should also be getting out. Things should not be unbalanced here. So there's something here about feeling like that there's a need, there's a desire, and there is the uncompromise for balance. Like for whoever you are, you won't take anything less. Even to the point, if you feel like you need to do it yourself, right? You would do it. You would do it. Yeah. And so I do feel like that there is an expectation here of working and doing specific things, maybe even several things, with the expectation that you'll receive something back out of this. Because again, it's practical energy. Pentacles is practical, and the twos are all about balance. It's all about possibly even crossroads choices, right? And so there's a lot happening mentally when it comes to your healing and you really taking what you understand belongs to you, what you desire. And it's the healing that's happening. Now, in the past, I do see there's heaviness happening here with the Ten of Wands. And it could have been a strain, carrying all of these wands. But it's also reflective of the power and the strength, right, that is exemplified with the Ten of Wands in the past. There may have been something that you successfully was able to achieve. It was heavy. You carried it. You've been carrying it all this time. And maybe it did take a wear and tear. Maybe there was a steep price to pay for that with the Ten of Wands. But that oppression from the past, I feel like the 10 talks about an ending to that. That is no more. Yes, you had it. You had that experience. Maybe even receive some level of honor as a result of being able to carry this level of weight, right? There's something here about this process where we've come today, where there's a heaviness, there's a price that was paid for you to get even to this point where you are today. And so I feel like there's a lot of heavy lifting, some work that's been done in the past, maybe even climbing the ladder, from the bottom, making your way up and coming to a place of completion with that heaviness. You did the work and you've come to a place now where it's time for a relief. It's time for a new beginning now, right? We did that heaviness thing. And so there's a change that is here. This is future energy, is the death. And the death is, let me see who this is. Bob Dylan, whoever that is. For those of you that know Bob Dylan, if you come across this page, he's a songwriter. And he is he actually, what do you call that? When you are actually able to communicate with those who have passed on to the other side, a mediator between life and death. Through his songs, he would mediate. Yeah, it's almost like his music actually spoke to the void, that place in between life and death. If you're looking to hear his music, Bob Dylan, there's a song, Blood on the Tracks, if you want to listen to a piece of music about falling out of love and feeling profoundly alone. That's one that you can look up. But death in this particular sense is all about looking and finding ways to rejuvenate and to replenish and engage with life from a renewed perspective. And so there's reprieve that's coming for you here in the future with death. There's something that's changing. There's new life that's springing up. There's transformation that's promised. There is replenishment for what has been lost through the Ten of Wands, right? And so if things have felt stagnant, right, they're going to start being regenerated. And whatever has been heavy is going to be resolved and lifted. I feel like this changing. This may even be a time where you're going to have an opportunity to reflect on those things, to pause and to stop something that has not worked. There's an ending coming with this Ten of Wands. Whatever has been heavy, I think that's coming to an end. And it's going to be something that's unavoidable, right? Sometimes we don't want the change. We get comfortable in dysfunction, not even knowing that it's dysfunction. But this death sometimes can mean, even if you have to go kicking and screaming, this change is coming in. You're comfortable, maybe you are ready for the change. Either way, this change is coming in. Okay. And so Just understand that this is happening. These changes that are coming in may, in fact, be positioning more of this healing, more of this change to take place. And it's to bring you to a better place, a place of comfort. Okay. For support, we have the Three of Cups. I feel like you're surrounded by people who support you, who love you. If you are not yet, you will be headed that way. These are your ride or dies. Like, they cry with you and they celebrate you, right? It's not going to be the crowd that's silent when you're winning. It's not going to be those people. It's going to be the people that are there through thick and thin, right? When you're down and when you're up, okay? You may already have the connections, or you may be heading into connections that represent this kind of loyal energy. Okay. This is coming in as a support for you. We also have the Tower coming in with Tupac. And so this could absolutely be something that comes in uninvited, right? But it's coming in as a support. The Tower is all about sometimes the energy of starting out the wrong way, but then having things turn around. This could be starting out without the necessary support that was needed. That has caused things to be really difficult. So there's something about, for those of you that didn't have support, that actually has worked to your advantage in some type of way, right? I'm thinking of Tupac, and Tupac was definitely a loner. He definitely had his own mindset. He definitely, if he was with a crowd, he was with a crowd where everyone really operated from their own sense of autonomy. It wasn't a group, one-way thinking type of mindset. He hung with thinkers who were able to challenge each other in their mindsets. And it was almost like, iron sharpening iron. And so there's something about right now, you may be in that energy where you are kind of like treading on this path alone. You don't really have a support group yet. I do feel like you are headed towards one because the Three of Cups came out, or it could just mean that whether you have support or not, whatever circumstance you find yourself in, it is working to your benefit. Okay. If you don't have support, there's a reason for that. And that is working to your benefit. It may be that you need to tread on this path alone without others influencing how you think or how you're moving. That's very important for who this message is for. And on the other hand, if you have lots of support, you are surrounded by your ride or dies. That's necessary too for where you are right now. And now the Tower in this deck really does talk about like the house of God, God stepping in and causing an intervention of some type. The Tower talks about a tearing down, right? Many times so that it can be built up the correct way. When the Tower hits, that means there could be foundations that threaten the structure. So instead of waiting for it to come down, there is a force that comes in and just tears it down so we can just start working immediately, right? It's almost like a sense of destruction with a purpose, right? And so if there is, and I do get that with the Death card coming in the future, there's going to be some changes that happens that you'll be able to see clearly. There's going to be some changes, but understand that the changes are because there's something in the foundation that needs to be corrected. Think of it that way. And if it's not corrected, the more you build, the higher you build, the more fragile your structure is because the foundation is not correct, right? And so it's almost like, let's just go ahead and fix this so that we don't have to go back. What could have been like a $10 fix may, in fact, if you build on it, may in fact turn out to be a $10,000 fix later on if you don't fix it now, right? Think of it like that. And so there's something about possible experiencing difficulties and maybe even having to start over in some ways, but it's coming in as a support, okay? It's coming in as a support. And then the energy that you're currently in is the Queen of Coins with Queen Latifah. The Queen of Coins, again, another queen energy, which is that matriarchal, very supportive, very beautiful energy, very wise energy, nurturing, supportive, devoted, focused, and truthful, very balanced. The Queen of Pentacles is definitely someone who knows who she is. I'm thinking of Queen Latifah, who has really she's made a name for herself, and she has really established a very beautiful reputation. I always have a very high sense of respect for people who can operate at that high level. We see people that operate before the world, and you don't hear their name in drama every other week. There's something about them that's able to keep their lives together and operate on that high pedestal that we put them on, but able to actually keep their lives intact and keep a high level of integrity. That's how I think of Queen Latifah. She has managed to really build some very firm foundations, especially as it pertains to a certain group of people, women in particular. It's somebody that we can actually get behind and support on many different views. But this energy brings in, the fact that the energy that you're in is one of stability, of security, somebody who is dependable. This isn't that flaky energy, right? This is, it is what it is. What you see is what you get, right? And I feel like that's part of you stepping into this energy of being willing to do this work around the healing. It's this very solid, grounded energy. I love it. In the outcome, we have the 10 of Pentacles coming through, which talks about a completion when it comes to what this is that you're thinking about. This 2 of Pentacles, right? There's some healing experience that you are navigating, and it comes to completion, not only for you, but there's enough pentacles to pass on to those coming after you as well. The 10 of Pentacles is a completion. And we're not just talking about wealth, but we're talking about abundance, gain, even notoriety in some type of, aspects. This could be family matters, prosperity, generational wealth, family structures being built. There's almost like this foundation, I feel like, that you are building, that everyone connected to you will benefit from. This is not just about you. This is going to be about everyone that is attached to you. Yeah, everybody attached to you. And so the work that you do here, this healing that's available, is going to be expounded upon. It's going to be something that's going to grow exponentially. The seed that you plant will provide a lot of produce, a lot of benefits for those that are under your umbrella. Not only that, the seeds from what they will enjoy will then be replanted, providing more umbrellas, right? And so on and so on. I'm just seeing exponential healing, exponential prosperity and abundance and wealth. It's multiplied over and over and over. So there's something about the work that you're doing right now when it comes to healing yourself that's going to affect every area of life. This might even talk about some kind of block that's being unblocked and healed, that's going to open up other doors, right? A lot of times when we're talking about the sacral chakra, like this is our creative center. This is where we invite and cultivate that energy that we use to show up in the world and do our thing, what we've come here to do. That's cultivated in the sacral chakra. And so you can see how that can affect how we're showing up and living life if that's blocked. And if we're not able to really bring to completion and fulfill what has been planted there, right? So this is talking about healing, but it's also talking about being able to show up and live life the way that we desire, maybe the way that we've been created to. Okay. So I'm going to get some more energy and see what else Spirit has. Any other advice before we close out, Spirit, for my viewer? Any other advice? What do they need to know? What is it that my viewer needs to know before we end out this reading? The Chariot and the Son of Pentacles. I've been seeing a lot of horses lately, a lot of animals. There's something about the power that you carry. You need to know something about the power that you carry. And the Son of Pentacles, which is the Page of Pentacles. This is just the beginning. Like you haven't even tapped into the resource that is actually, coming up here. You haven't even tapped into it, Spirit is saying. And it's been hidden. Whatever this is has been hidden, right? But this healing that's happening is it's almost like the floodgates are going to open. We also have the Five of Wands and the Two of Swords, right? This has to be very intentional, this process. It's almost like going from this very scattered place to focusing in and doing what it is that you need to do. And it's going to be like a transference. What was the Ten of Wands will then become this very focused and directed energy, right? This Chariot is very focused and directed. And it's almost taking like a untamed horse, like a black stallion that's just wild, lots of power, but it's undirected, which means that there is a loss of energy and a loss of power. Now, when you pull that in and you hone it in and you focus it, whoo, you got some horsepower. Now you got something that's out of this world and so very beautiful, right? So this Five of Wands to the Two of Swords is kind of like honing in and focusing in that energy. Spirit is saying, yeah, this process is going to lead you right where you need to be. And what used to be very heavy, this Ten of Wands, will actually end up being something that you can now carry on your fingertip because of the change in focus, right? Okay, anything else? The Eight of Cups and the Five of Pentacles. Yeah, this is definitely an upgrade. Maybe realizing the fact that where you are now no longer offers anything. And this has to happen. The changes, this is like that tower energy. This has to happen, right? And the process may in fact be a difficult one because you'll be leaving behind everything that you know to be familiar for some of you. But the exchange of climbing these mountains so that you can end up in a higher space of operation. This is achievement. Yeah, exhaling, exchanging what no longer serves you, right, for something greater, right? And many times there is an exchange, right? The rose has to be crushed in order to create the fragrance, right? The olive has to be smashed in order to get the oil. The coal must be pressurized under a high degree of heat. It has to be burned, in order to produce the diamond, right? There is a process here. This may speak to what you've already been through with this Ten of Wands. Nevertheless, that's where we're headed. Spirit is saying you have not even touched. You haven't even grazed, right? The power that's waiting to be unleashed. And so that's what I'm getting today. This is all about healing, though. Healing. And something to do with passion, sexuality, how we're perceiving self, how we're showing up and looking at ourselves. Let me see, anything else? This is about not denying your feelings or repressing your desires or shutting down that side of yourself. This is you allowing yourself right now. Not only allowing, but awakening that part of you and nurturing it, right? We are not giving space for shame right now, but we're nurturing those parts of ourselves and we're opening up and allowing. This is where our power is, okay? So for someone, you may benefit from doing work on your sacral chakra and just really focusing in on allowing yourself to really receive the intense energy and the ability to integrate both the masculine and the feminine qualities. Yeah. And allow that part of you to be fully awakened and be open in your life. This is for you. Okay. This is not for others. This is you, allowing you to experience the healing of this part of your being. Disregarding anything that you've been taught about what it should be, but you're looking for the truth within. The high priestess looks within for truth, okay? And sets down any type of environmental conditioning. So it's the spirit letting you know that it is okay to be exactly who you are. Yeah. And as everything shifts and changes around you, you keep showing up as your highest, most authentic self, releasing fear, doubt, and shame around anything that will affect this part of your natural being. It's the time to heal the past and become more present with this side of yourself, because it is sacred. And it's time to honor these desires, okay? And then lastly, for reflection, this is all about being awakened to this greater quest and seeing ourselves embarking and immersing ourselves into this path that we've set out on. It's one of awakening, where we're listening and hearing the call to take the challenge and face our own demons, discard any ideas of who we think we are, but instead allowing ourselves to finish as our authentic selves. And that may in fact end up being something very different than we started out believing about ourselves when we first started this journey. That's why we call it the seekers, because it's open to understanding. It's open to information that's being invited to be seen, and being open to evolve as we receive the information. Reflection is actually taking a look at where we are on this process. And if you're someone who has not even started, right? If you are afraid to even take the first step, this card is encouraging you to do so right now. As we know it, we're all fighting our own lower selves, our own demons. And the one thing about it is that we are supported with this battle. And whether we decide to step on the journey or not, the struggles are still there, right? Why not step into a place of support? You know, if you are one that's being called, this is not for everybody, but if you're being called to step on the path, you'll know. Right? And this is you taking time to reflect on your process and your experiences up to this point. Not only to reflect, but to do that without judging yourself. Sometimes it's really hard, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes to just sit and observe, not needing to judge. Yeah. And that's where you'll begin to grow and open up, and you'll begin to see these hidden things there that's been covered up, because this has been something that has possibly been hidden or needing healing. But there's definitely like things there hidden in that space that's been closed off. There's certain abilities and talents and strengths that are hidden there. So it's said that the hero lives in our archetypal, consciousness. And this emanates from our third eye chakra. As we follow our unique quest, that's when the doors begin to open for us and we get invited in. And so you're being invited to take the challenge and embark on the quest of your path. That's where we're being called. So whether you're on the path and you're just moving to a higher level of healing, or whether you're just now being invited, right? It's all the same. It's all the same. Okay. And so I hope this is encouraging. I hope I said something that stimulates some thought, that gives you some type of encouragement to step up, to step out, and to find out, what is that calling that I'm feeling, to step higher, to move higher. This may in fact be going deeper into your healing. Okay. Deeper into your healing in certain aspects of your being. Okay. And so let me know how it resonates. If it does, if you feel open to share, like, share, comment, subscribe if you do. Thank you for stopping by. It's always a pleasure to read for you all. This was the encouragement of the day. And until next time, take care. Bye. Happy Juneteenth.